Hello, everyone. It's Steve with Aptera Owners Club. On July 2nd, 2025, Aptera filed a amendment or an addition to their investment circular, and I wanted to kind of look into it and talk about the things that are new and different in this. Let's go over it together. So this is it, and this supplement to the offering circular should be read in conjunction with the offering circular dated November 25, 2024, and supplements dated January 30, 2025, March 13, 2025, and April 10, 2025. So this was the original, and then there were supplements here, and this is the fourth supplement. All right, so most of this is pretty boilerplate, not much changes. As you know, SEC filings they have to be pessimistic, so you just have to read. That's kind of the tone of all of these reports. They are not like ways of trying to gather investment; they're ways of like covering your butt, and so they have to give the pessimistic view. So that's just kind of the tone of it. So just understand that going forward. All right, so here's the risk. These are things that we've heard before. We have a limited operating history upon which you can evaluate our performance. We have not generated any profits. Accordingly, our prospects must be considered in light of the risks that any new company encounters. Our auditors issued a going concern opinion. That sounds bad, but that's actually good. Going concern is in accounting speak, meaning they can continue financially as a company as of the time of this audit. Our company plans to raise significantly more capital on future fundraising rounds, which may include offering equity at a significant discount to the price offered in this offering, which could result in dilution to investors in this offering. So that's not anything new. That information has been in there before as well. We will require additional capital to support business growth. This capital may not be available on a commercially reasonable terms or at all. Okay, so that's also not new. We've seen that language in previous SEC filings. We anticipate will initially depend on revenue generated from a single vehicle model, and in the foreseeable future will be significantly dependent on a limited number of models. Yeah, currently Aptera has one model, the one that we all know about, the one we just call the Aptera, and if they're just dependent on that. That's also not new. We are dependent on a few suppliers, and they're just basically saying they're very dependent on a few suppliers, and if those suppliers go down or refuse to give work with them, and they won't find any, it'll be difficult for them to find other suppliers. That's also not new. Tariffs and trade barriers may materially affect our business results of operations and financial conditions. This is something relatively new because tariffs weren't a big deal until fairly recently. All right, we have not commenced production of our vehicles and have limited experience in high volume manufacture of our vehicles. Okay, that's also been in a previous filing. If our vehicles fail to perform as expected, our ability to develop, market, and sell or lease our product could be harmed. I mean, obviously. Vehicle reservations may not result in actual sales. Okay, obviously. All reservations are fully refundable. Company operates in a capital intensive industry. Yes, true. Auto manufacturing is a capital intensive industry. We may incur indebtedness in the future, which could reduce our financial flexibility and adversely impact our operations and our costs. Aptera operates in a highly competitive market. We face significant technological and legal barriers to entry. This part I thought was interesting. So let's read this part. We face significant barriers as we attempt to produce our vehicle. Our vehicle specifications, including estimated range, acceleration, charging time, solar charging capacity, and other performance metrics, are based on a combination of simulated computer and other models and prototype testing. As we progress through testing and validation of our vehicle design, we may identify design changes necessary for safety, manufacturability, cost, or other reasons that could negatively impact these expected performance metrics. Until validation and testing are complete, there is significant uncertainty as to whether our vehicles will meet the performance specifications we have disclosed. Any failure to meet these metrics in our final production models could harm our reputation, affect customer satisfaction and demand, and have material adverse effects on our business and prospects. Okay, this is language I don't remember seeing before in the previous amendments. Okay, so then it talks about that they are validating their vehicle design and purchasing tooling, and they're getting geared up for this thing, and they're talking about how this is not easy to do. And I think reading this SEC report kind of tells us, yeah, this is hard. The stuff that they're doing is hard, and so far they've been doing it. but the things that they still need to do are also hard. All right, so it said for these reasons, though we originally anticipated production would begin in 2021, we have had to reset our expectations several times, and there can be no assurance that we will ever advance into production. The automobile industry has traditionally been characterized by significant barriers to entry, including large capital requirements, investment costs of designing and manufacturing vehicles, long lead times to bring vehicles to market from concept and design stage, the need for a specialized design and development expertise, regulatory requirements, and establishing a brand name and image, and the need to establish sales and service locations. We must successfully overcome these and other manufacturing and legal barriers to successful. So these are the things they have to accomplish, and these are not easy things. So all right, so this is our success depends on customers' willingness to adopt energy efficient solar powered vehicles, obviously. Development and improvements in alternative technologies such as hybrid engines or full electric vehicles or the internal combustion engine or continued low retail gasoline prices may materially and adversely affect the demand for energy efficient solar powered vehicles. Yeah, so like if someone magically develops a hybrid engine that gets, 100 miles per gallon, or full electric vehicles become even better or cheaper, or the internal combustion engine becomes super efficient, or gas prices drop through the floor, then demand for energy efficient solar powered vehicles will go down, obviously. Our vehicles face several regulatory hurdles, true. Passenger vehicles, like those produced by the company, are highly regulated and subject to regulatory changes. Demand is highly volatile. We may be affected by uncertainty over government purchase incentives. Okay, that's in case in point, if you guys didn't know, the bill passed, the big beautiful bill or whatever it's called, and that one actually the bill that passed, see the original bill that went through the House the first time was going to stop the tax credits at the end of this year, but actually now it's stopping even sooner. It ends in like September 30th. So after September 30th, the vehicle incentives end, and I believe that the original bill had a carve out for companies that had not sold like 200,000 vehicles yet, but I believe that carve out is gone now. So this is going to affect Slate and Rivian and all the other companies that haven't sold a lot of vehicles. And so if you go on Slate's website, they no longer have the language that says less than 20,000 miles after tax incentives, because they now know the tax incentives are gone. So that doesn't affect Aptera, because Aptera never qualified for the tax incentives because they have three wheels and four, not instead of four, so they're not considered automobiles. It's considered an auto cycle, so it didn't get those incentives. But uncertainty about other, maybe like it's classified as a motorcycle, and maybe those motorcycle percentage purchase incentives will also go away. That's possible too. So that's what they're talking about. We may become subject to product liability claims. So yeah, if they get sued for product liability claims, that's going to hurt them. That's obviously true. Limited intellectual property protection may cause us to lose our competitive advantage and adversely affect our business. They talk about their patents. They've been granted 10 patents. 7 of them are design patents and 3 utility patents. So remember, design just tells you, what things look like, the layout and stuff like that. They're not as they're a different kind of patent. And if you remember, the Zaptera patent is a design patent, patent infringement lawsuit, and 3 utility patents. Utility patents are the patents that are not about design, but about how things work and processes and things like that. So those are kind of, in my opinion, somewhat more valuable patents. They have 94 pending patent applications, so that's a lot, and 52 patent applications in the United States. These patents cover electrical CAN bus, CAN and LIN bus system, aerodynamic shape, solar integration, suspension, battery, HVAC body, thermal management, and manufacturing techniques. So they have a lot of intellectual property in the works, which is great. There is pending litigation against the company. We know about that. That's the Aptera lawsuit. Company is aware that it's a subject of investigation from the Securities Exchange Commission. That was in the January supplement that was revealed. Again, they are saying, well, it says the Securities and Exchange Commission informed the company that its investigation does not mean it has concluded that anyone has violated the law and that receipt of the subpoena does not mean the SEC has a negative opinion of any person, entity, or security. All right. Failure to obtain and maintain the right to use certain intellectual property may negatively affect our business. So that's also not new information. The company's insurance may not be sufficient. That I haven't seen before, but I don't think that's any big deal. They're just saying, yeah, we may not have enough insurance. That's also a possibility. They have to list like every single bad possibility in here. All right, this is new. The company anticipates it will be required to become a reporting company with the SEC in 2025. The company anticipates it will be required to register securities with the SEC under the Exchange Act and become a reporting public company in 2025. It is in the process of preparing the necessary registration forms and obtaining financial statements audited in accordance with the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board. Becoming a reporting company will subject the company to additional initial and ongoing compliance and reporting costs and administrative burdens. Additionally, the information that will be provided pursuant to registration under the Exchange Act and its ongoing disclosure requirements is more extensive than required under Regulation A and Regulation Crowdfunding, and investors may make a different investment decision on the basis of that information than they would based on the information in this offering circular. Okay, so I was like, I don't know what a reporting company is, so I looked it up. This is Exchange Act reporting. So there's an Exchange Act of like 1935 or something. See. Okay, well, anyway, there's an Exchange Act. I think it was in 1935 or something. And basically, once you meet certain criteria, you're considered a public company, and then you have to report quarterly. Right now, Aptera reports kind of semi-annually, and I think they're quite delayed, and I think the SEC doesn't care as much about that if you're like a small company that doesn't have very many investors or a lot of money invested. And so this is kind of the criteria. Even if your company does not have an effective registration statement for a public offering, it could still be required to file a registration statement and become a reporting company under Section 12 of the Exchange Act. Let's click on this and see what that's about. Yeah, so 1934. All right, sorry, I was 1 year off. Strategic Exchange Act of 1934. If it has more than $10 million in total assets and a class of equity securities like common stock that is held of record by either 2,000 or more persons or 200 or more persons who are not accredited investors. So I believe that they're gonna in 2025 they expect to either have more than 10 million in total assets or 2,000 or more persons or 200 or more persons who are not accredited investors. I believe they've probably already hit this metric, 2,000 or more persons. So I think what's happening now is they're either going to have more than $10 million to assets, or there's going to be 200 or more people who are not accredited, 500 or more people who are not accredited investors who are going to invest in Aptera sometime in the course of this year. And at that point, they need to just produce a lot more forms and give quarterly reports and stuff, and that's going to take a lot more manpower from them, and they're going to probably have to hire more people or hire more consultants to help them do that. Our financial controls may be inadequate for a reporting public company. The financial controls the company currently has in place were designed for a company that makes reports pursuant to Regulation A. The financial disclosure requirements of the Exchange Act place a higher burden on the company than the requirements of Regulation A. Our current financial controls may prove inadequate for a reporting public company if we fail to adapt these financial and internal controls, or if we encounter unexpected difficulties, our business, financial condition, and operating results will suffer. Okay, so they are in the process of getting ready for this, and they're just saying if they can't get ready for it, that's going to be a problem. Okay, so that's obviously true. So nothing unexpected there. Aptera depends on a small management team and may need to hire more people to be successful. Okay, true. And I think that's been in there before. The company relies on outside parties to provide technological manufacturing expertise. We know that. Global recession, all kinds of bad things could affect them. Okay, obviously true. They then on page 21, they want to change the company's business product and replace it with this. So product, we have designed our launch edition Aptera to have the following technical specifications: 400-mile range, 700 watts of solar, level 3 charging, seats for 2 passengers, 32.5 cubic feet of rear storage. So that's not any, that's all kind of what we know. We previously announced we anticipated completing our vehicle validation and testing by the end of 2024, with low volume production commencing in 2025. However, we did not achieve this timeline due to delays in securing necessary funding. We remain committed to completing the validation and testing process and commencing low volume production as soon as possible. Our current focus is in securing the necessary funding and addressing any technical challenges encountered during the validation and testing process. Then they talk about go see these parts, and we're gonna go see them. Okay. All right. All right. So this is talking about the Aptera lawsuit. So nothing we don't already know there. Intellectual property, nothing new there. They talk about the company's property, so nothing new there. They're just saying we don't own anything, we're releasing everything, so we knew that. All right, so this is, I think this part from here to the end is probably the most crucial part of this offering circular amendment. So Aptera Motor Company is a development stage company focused on the development and commercialization of solar electric vehicles. As of the date of this offering, the company has not commenced production or generated any revenue from the sale of its products. The accompanying consolidated financial statements have been prepared, assuming the company will continue as a going concern, which is dependent on the company obtaining additional financing and ultimately achieving profitable operations. This management's discussion and analysis discusses the company's progress to date, its challenges, its plans for the future, but should be read in conjunction with the consolidated financial statements and accompanying notes. Aptera was formed in March 4th of 2019 for the purpose of engaging in production of an energy-efficient solar-powered vehicle. We first began accepting $100 reservations in December of 2020, and as of December 31st, 2024, we have more than 48,000 reservation holders. So I wanted to see how that's going. So this was in December of 2023, so 1 year ago, they had 45,000 vehicle reservations. So in 1 year, it's ticked up by 3,000. So you can see the reservations have plateaued quite a bit. We have not discovered any products to customers and have not recognized any revenue from the sale of vehicles. In 2023 and 2024, we engaged in many new partners to supply validated parts, and as a result, we are in the process of building validation vehicles with production parts. In addition to our engagement with these partners, we are also engaged with validation and durability testing partners to ensure the reliability of our production intent design. Our marketing team, so they're this is what they're doing right now. They're validating durability and performance validation and just other things. Our marketing team is expected to continue to engage with the public to educate them on our brand proposition and garner as many vehicle orders as possible. These orders help us determine our production mix and the speed at which we need to ramp our production. All right. And then this talks about their production timeline. Our production timeline has evolved as our company has progressed. It remains dependent on our ability to secure sufficient capital. We had previously anticipated commencing low volume production of vehicles in 2025 and achieving a high volume production rate of 20,000 vehicles by the end of the year 2026. However, we experienced delays, and this timeline is no longer indicative of our current expectations. So they no longer expect that to happen, primarily due to our ongoing need to secure substantial funding. So the reason for that is they haven't gotten the funding. As we have disclosed in the risk factors, we have not yet raised the sufficient capital necessary to fully fund our tooling, validation program, and manufacturing facility. Unlike our previous fundraising efforts, which were composed of many smaller investments over time, this is key right here. Capital required for the remaining vehicle tooling and supplier commits must be secured in substantial tranches to allow us to place large-scale purchase orders and commit to production schedule. So see, I've talked about this multiple times. This is the problem with crowdfunding. Crowdfunding comes in, it trickles in little by little. It's enough to keep the lights on, but you need to have a bunch of capital hit all at once to make large purchase orders. So you need to get like $30 million in one shot. You can't get like, $10,000 a day or $20,000 a day through crowdfunding. And that's what they're saying right here. They need like the commitments has to come all at once. They need like large investments, like 10, 20, 30, 40 million dollars. Our production plan for our Carlsbad facility is phased, and each phase is contingent on a specific level of funding. The initial low volume production is estimated to require approximately 65 million in capital to fund remaining necessary tooling and validation programs. So they need 65 million to get to low volume production. Um, Following the initial of low volume production, a second phase to ramp up to high volume would require an additional 140 to 160 million dollars. So in total, we're looking at 200 to 230 million dollars. This high volume rate, which we project to be approximately 20,000 vehicles per year at our current facility's maximum capacity, was a figure determined in consultation with Monroe and Associates, a firm specializing in lean manufacturing principles for the automotive industry. Given that our ability to begin any phase of production is dependent on securing the required capital, we cannot currently provide a revised forecast for when these milestones will be met. Until the necessary funding for a given production phase is secured, we will be unable to predict if and when that phase of production will commence. We remain committed to commencing production as soon as possible. But in order to do that, you need to do these things, okay? So let's see. All right, here we go. This is also very important because it talks about the burn rate. Our current operational cash burn rate, covering essential personnel, ongoing regulatory compliance with this public offering and the ongoing SEC investigation, is further described under the business litigation and regulation section. And fixed costs. It is approximately 1.2 to 1.5 million dollars a year. So if you calculate that per day, that is $40,000 per day, $40,000 to $50,000 per day. So I mean, that's kind of what crowdfunding is bringing in at this point. Roughly $30,000 to $40,000 per day, and that is basically covering their burn rate. So they cannot make any progress towards tooling at the current funding rate. This baseline burn rate is currently elevated by significant expenses associated with the process of becoming a publicly traded company and by substantial legal and other professional fees related to the SEC investigation. So they're saying this burn rate is higher than it could be because of these regulatory issues that they're dealing with. So their burn rate would be less than this. So that's a good thing. All right, so here we go. To complete validation and prepare for initial production, including increased spending on engineering, validation, testing, and hiring of additional sales, marketing, and administrative personnel, we estimate we will require approximately $30 million in additional funding. Following that, we estimate an additional 30 to 40 million will be required for the remaining production tooling to commence low volume production. That's where the 65 million comes in. 30 million. So they can't finish validation until they get another 30 million, and they can't get any tooling done until they get 30 to 40 million. And this is on top of their burn rate. So like if it takes 10 months to get this, then you're gonna have to add 10 times 1.5 million, so 15 million plus 30 million plus 40 million if it takes 10 months to do it. If they get it like tomorrow, then they have the money. So that's why they need a large investor, basically. In total, we will require approximately 60 to 70 million to advance through these next two critical pre-production phases. We estimate the associated work would take approximately 12 to 18 months to complete from the time such capital is fully secured. All right. So the things that we've heard previously is $60 million, and it will take 9 months from securing $60 million to get to production. Now they're saying it's going to take $60, $70 million, and it will take 12 to 18 months from the time that those are secured to get to production. And then again, this capital must be secured in substantial tranches rather than incrementally, as it is necessary to fund significant non-cancelable commitments to suppliers for remaining tooling and equipment. So this is the section that I thought was the most interesting and illuminating on this thing. All right, the CEC grant is also very important. So they were awarded $22 million grant from the CEC. Of that, they've gotten, let's see, they've gotten like $2 million of it recently. So let's see, the grant provides funding and reimbursement based on eligible expenditures. We anticipate receiving further portions of this grant, significantly estimated. So they're hoping to get $6 million of this in 2025 and $14 million in 2026. And so they need to reach some milestones. And these milestones were recently extended and approved by the CEC. It requires them to manufacture and sell 50 vehicles by February of 2026. So unless they get an extension from the CEC, if they do not produce 50 vehicles by 2026, they will lose the remainder of this grant. And they have to produce 500 vehicles by October of 2026. Our ability to meet these milestones is subject to our ability to fund the required upfront investments, and there's no guarantee we will be able to do so. All right, so this is talking more about the CEC grant, and here's where I remember that. As of March 2025, they have requested $2.7 million, and they've gotten $2.0 million. So they've said, hey, we've spent $2.7 million in eligible spending. Please give it back. And they've been approved for 2.0. So the 0.7 is probably coming. But there's still roughly almost $20 million left to get from that. And then in May 25, they were approved for a time extension, and that's the new milestones they're talking about right there. And then the project and grant reimbursement period was also extended, is now going to conclude in 2027. So the CEC has been very generous to them and has extended their timelines at least once, as far as we can tell. And then here they're talking about the world economic state, which isn't great at this point. And then they're talking about how the tariffs don't materially impact them right now because they're not buying a lot of stuff because they're just doing validation. However, since they are going to be importing a lot of things, it will affect them in the future depending on what the tariffs do. And of course, the tariffs change like almost daily right now, so it's hard to predict. So it says, however, recent proposals to change the international trade framework events have resulted in substantial regulatory uncertainty regarding international trade and trade policy, both in the United States and abroad. The U.S. government also has raised the possibility of other initiatives that may affect importation of goods, including renegotiation of trade agreements with other countries and the introduction of new or increased import duties or tariffs with respect to products from a number of different countries. In light of this uncertainty and unknown impact on the broader U.S. and global economy in the future, we do not have clarity at this point over the potential medium to long-term impacts our business may face. The availability of certain goods could be affected by foreign suppliers who choose to limit their exposure to U.S. markets in response to unfavorable trade policies, which could negatively impact the ability of our suppliers to deliver materials or manufacturing equipment to us. So they're basically saying these tariffs are hurting them or could possibly hurt them. Unknown what the tariffs are going to do. Okay, so that's kind of the thing. Remember, again, these SEC filings have to be kind of on a pessimistic tone. So understand that's just the nature of these things. But I thought that this part was probably the most interesting part of the whole thing. And that was new information to me from having reviewed the previous SEC filings. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Look forward to hearing your comments. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.